Ever wondered how to make the perfect Texas-style smoked beef brisket? Welcome to the realm of authentic American barbecue, where the humble beef brisket holds a place of honor, especially in the heart of Texas. This is a world where simplicity meets perfection, where the uncomplicated blend of salt and pepper marries smoke and thyme to create a culinary masterpiece. Texas-style smoked beef brisket is more than just a dish, it's a tradition, a cultural icon, and a mouth-watering testament to the art of barbecue. This revered dish, with its roots nestled deep within the heartland of Texas, has captivated the taste buds of barbecue enthusiasts far and wide. The allure? Its tantalizing balance of flavors, from the savory, pepper-crusted exterior to the tender, melt-in-your-mouth interior, all infused with the smoky essence of slow-cooked perfection. But what sets this dish apart is its beautiful simplicity. In the world of Texas barbecue, there's no place for complicated marinades or fancy rubs. No, the magic of Texas-style smoked beef brisket lies in the simplicity of its ingredients, just salt, pepper, smoke, and thyme. Yes, thyme, the essential ingredient that transforms a tough cut of meat into a tender, flavorful delight. This simplicity, however, should not be mistaken for ease, for in the art of smoking a brisket, patience and precision are key. It's a labor of love, requiring careful attention to temperature and timing, and an understanding of the meat itself. It's about mastering the technique, respecting the process, and savoring the journey as much as the end result. So, whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a barbecue novice, there's something incredibly satisfying about creating your own Texas-style smoked beef brisket. It's a culinary adventure that invites you to explore the depths of flavor, the nuances of technique, and the sheer joy of creating something truly delicious from the simplest of ingredients. Now, are you ready to dive into the art of smoking a Texas-style beef brisket? First things first, understanding the basics is key. Beef brisket, a treasured cut for barbecue lovers, comes from the breast or lower chest of a cow. It's a large, tough cut made up of two main parts, the flat and the point. The flat is leaner and thinner, while the point is thicker and marbled with fat. The fat marbling in the point often leads to a more flavorful and juicy result, but both cuts have their merits in the world of barbecue. The selection of the right cut is crucial. When choosing your brisket, look for one with a thick layer of fat on one side, known as the fat cap. This fat will keep the meat moist during the long smoking process. Also, pay attention to the marbling within the meat itself. Those little white flecks of fat will melt during cooking, infusing the brisket with flavor and ensuring it stays juicy. But brisket is not a forgiving cut. Its size and toughness mean it requires a long, slow cook to break down the connective tissues and achieve that tender, melt-in-your-mouth texture. This is where the art and science of barbecue come into play. The temperature must be low and the cooking time long. It's a commitment, but one that pays off in the form of a beautifully smoked, deeply flavorful brisket. Mastering the technique of smoking a brisket can be challenging, but it's a rewarding endeavor. It takes practice, patience, and a certain amount of trial and error. The process of smoking a brisket is as much about the journey as it is about the destination. It's about nurturing the brisket, tending to it, and giving it the time it needs to transform into a barbecue masterpiece. So remember, choose a well-marbled brisket with a good fat cap. Be prepared for a long, slow cook and embrace the process. With the right cut and a dash of patience, you're set for success. Now that you've got your perfect cut, let's prepare and season the brisket. The first step in preparing your brisket is to trim excess fat. You'll want to leave about 1/4 inch of fat on the brisket to keep it moist during the smoking process. The fat will melt over the meat, creating a self-basting effect, resulting in a tender, juicy brisket. Next, let's talk about the seasoning. In the world of Texas-style smoked beef brisket, simplicity is key. You don't need a laundry list of spices to achieve a flavorful brisket. In fact, the basic ingredients you'll need are just 3: salt, pepper, and garlic powder. This classic seasoning trio will let the natural flavors of the brisket shine through while adding just the right touch of savoriness. Now, when it comes to the ratio of these 3 ingredients, everyone has their own preference. However, a good starting point is equal parts salt and pepper with half as much garlic powder. This creates a balanced seasoning that isn't too overpowering. Once you've mixed your seasoning, it's time to apply it to the brisket. You'll want to make sure you season all sides of the brisket, not just the top and bottom. Don't be shy with your seasoning. A generous amount will help create a flavorful bark on the outside of the brisket during the smoking process. Now, let's talk about a secret ingredient that can take your brisket to the next level: beef tallow. This rendered beef fat is rich in flavor and can be brushed onto the brisket during the smoking process to keep it moist and enhance its beefy flavor. To prepare your brisket for smoking, let it sit at room temperature for about an hour after seasoning. This allows the brisket to come up to temperature evenly, leading to more consistent cooking. With your brisket prepared and seasoned, you're ready for the next exciting step. You've prepared and seasoned your brisket. Now comes the smoking process. This is the heart of Texas-style barbecue, where the magic of transformation happens, turning a robust cut of beef into a tender, flavorful delicacy. The first thing to understand about the smoking process is the importance of maintaining a consistent temperature. This is not a race, it's a marathon. Your smoker should be kept at a steady temperature, typically around 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. This low and slow method of cooking allows the collagen in the meat to break down, resulting in a tender and juicy brisket. Now let's talk about time. Smoking a brisket is not a quick process, but it's well worth the wait. Depending on the size of your brisket, you may be looking at anywhere from 8 to 12 hours or even longer. Patience is key here, as rushing the process can result in a tough and dry brisket. During the smoking process, resist the temptation to frequently open the smoker to peek at your brisket. Each time you open the smoker, you're letting out heat and smoke, which can disrupt the cooking process and add to your cooking time. Just trust in the process and let the smoke and heat do their job. One of the challenges of smoking a brisket is managing the fire. You want to maintain a clean fire, which means avoiding thick white smoke. Instead, aim for thin blue smoke, which imparts a better flavor to your brisket. Lastly, remember that each piece of meat is unique, and so is the smoking process. Factors such as the size and shape of your brisket, the type of smoker you're using, and even the weather can influence the cooking time and final result. So don't be discouraged if your first few attempts aren't perfect. Like any art, mastering the smoking process takes time and practice. With the smoking process done right, you're one step closer to that perfect Texas-style smoked beef brisket. Once your brisket is smoked, it's time for wrapping, resting, and slicing. Now, wrapping your brisket is an essential step that you should not overlook. It seals in the juices and ensures that your brisket will be as tender and juicy as possible. You can use either aluminum foil or butcher paper for this. Whichever you choose, make sure to wrap the brisket tightly, but be careful not to tear the wrapper. After wrapping, it's time to let the brisket rest. This step is crucial because it allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat, enhancing its flavor and tenderness. The ideal resting time is about an hour, but if you have more time to spare, feel free to let it rest for up to 2 hours. Just remember to keep it wrapped and in a warm place during this time. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for: slicing the brisket. Slicing is more than just a way to serve the meat. It's an art that can make or break your brisket experience. To ensure optimal texture and flavor, slice the brisket against the grain. This means cutting perpendicular to the direction of the muscle fibers, which shortens them and makes the meat easier to chew. Start with a sharp knife and make your slices about 1/4 of an inch thick. If you're dealing with a whole brisket, remember that the point and the flat have grains that run in different directions, so adjust your slicing accordingly. And voila! You've got your perfect Texas-style smoked beef brisket. The aroma is intoxicating, the flavor is robust, and the texture is melt in your mouth tender. You've invested your time and effort into this piece of meat, and now it's time to reap the rewards. Enjoy your brisket as is, or serve it with your favorite sides for a complete meal. Either way, you're in for a treat. Now that you've mastered the art of smoking a brisket, let's talk about serving. Serving Texas-style smoked beef brisket is as much an art as the smoking process itself. It's all about complementing the rich, smoky flavors of your carefully cooked brisket with the right accompaniments. One popular choice is to turn some of your brisket into mouth-watering burnt ends. These delicious morsels are double smoked and coated in a sweet and tangy BBQ sauce, creating a flavor explosion that's the perfect counterpoint to your brisket's robust, savory taste. But remember, less is more when it comes to burnt ends. They're a treat to be savored, not the main event. Pairing your brisket with the right sides can elevate your BBQ to new heights. The creamy, cheesy goodness of mac and cheese is a classic choice, offering a comforting counterbalance to the smoky intensity of the brisket. Alternatively, a crisp, tangy slaw can provide a refreshing contrast, its acidity cutting through the rich flavors of the meat. For a touch of southern flair, why not try serving your brisket with a side of collard greens? Their earthy, slightly bitter flavor profile can stand up to the robust taste of the brisket, creating a harmonious symphony of flavors that's sure to impress. And let's not forget about the bread. A soft, fluffy roll or a slice of hearty Texas toast can be the perfect vehicle for your brisket, especially if you're serving it sliced rather than chopped. Add a dollop of BBQ sauce and you've got a sandwich fit for a king. Last but not least, consider the beverages. A cold beer or a glass of full-bodied red wine can be the perfect accompaniment to your BBQ feast, helping to cleanse the palate and enhance the overall dining experience. With these serving suggestions, you're ready to impress at your next BBQ. Let's recap what we've learned today. We've journeyed through the art of preparing a Texas-style smoked beef brisket, a revered classic in American barbecue. From understanding the basics to mastering the smoking process, we've covered all the necessary steps to make this dish a success. We began with the basics, familiarizing ourselves with the choice of meat, the brisket. We discussed the importance of selecting the right cut and the anatomy of the brisket, emphasizing its unforgiving nature and the rewards of perfecting this dish. Next, we delved into the preparation phase, highlighting the simplicity of the seasoning, just salt, pepper, and sometimes garlic powder. The beauty of this dish lies in its simplicity, allowing the flavors of the meat to shine through. From there, we moved on to the smoking process. We underscored the importance of maintaining a consistent temperature and the role of smoke in imparting that signature flavor. We also learned about the different types of wood used for smoking and how they influence the overall taste. We then explored wrapping, resting, and slicing the brisket. The importance of letting the meat rest after smoking to lock in the juices and flavors was emphasized. We also covered how to slice the brisket properly to ensure tender, mouth-watering slices of beef. Finally, we discussed serving suggestions from traditional burnt ends to creative options like incorporating the brisket into other dishes. We learned that while the brisket stands splendid on its own, it can also be a versatile ingredient in your culinary repertoire. Remember, the key to a perfect Texas-style smoked beef brisket lies in the details. The selection of the brisket, the seasoning, the smoking process, and the patience to let it rest. It's a labor of love, but the end result is undeniably worth it. Now, it's your turn to create a mouth-watering Texas-style smoked beef brisket. Happy smoking! For more food and drinks tips and recipes, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you never miss an update from us. Tell us about your thoughts in the comments section. Check out our other videos for more culinary inspiration. We love you. Until next time, keep cooking, stay adventurous.